Hi, I'm Victor Margiotta, and this is the Community Show. Thanks for watching. First off, I'd like to thank the crew, Joe Pisano and James Brooks. Thank you guys so much for everything you do for the show. Without you, this show wouldn't be happening. And, you know, it's so important that we get the message out, to get involved, to join a club or, go to church. The firehouse is always looking for somebody. It's so important to get involved, to communicate with people, the camaraderie, the friendships, the bonds that you join. I've been lucky to meet my guest, Dutch Pritts, and it's been a great experience. He's such a great guy. I love the fact that he's just so calm, cool, and collected, and it's a calming feeling when you're around people like that. And I want to thank you so much for coming on, Dutch.
Well, thanks for asking me.
I'm sorry to hear that your mom just died.
Yes, she's January 12th, 96 and a half. She lived a terrific long life. And the best thing, if I could write down right now how I would like to pass away, in my sleep, no pain, and that's the way she went, and it was terrific. It was, it's sad, but she had a good life.
And she was a pillar of the community.
Well, she grew up in Mamaroneck just like me. As she was born and raised, never left. And as she got, when she got older, she was a village historian for something like 30 years. There was a one-room schoolhouse in Mamaroneck, which she got moved to Harbor Island, which is a park on the Sound where we all learned to swim. And, before she got sick, she used to have the schools come in, the different grades, second and third grade, and talk about the one-room schoolhouse, and she had all kind of pictures. She was, as a village historian, she also had the archives in the in town. They had a place for her to put all that. And my favorite story about my mother, my father passed away in December '99. 3 or 4 months later, she said, growing up, I was always Dutchy. So that's what she called me. She says, Dutchy, I'm going to go to college. I've always wanted to go to college. So I figured she'd take 1, 2, maybe 3 classes. And I said, all right, Mom. I said, if you need some money for tuition or fees, I said, I can help you. Well, 4.5 years later, at 79 years, 11 months old, she graduated from the State University and got her degree, and that's just special.
Wow, that is special. Where did you wind up going to college?
I went to Manhattan College. I grew up, went to Mamaroneck High School. A lot of people locally here, think I went to Hen Hut because I coached here for so long, and when did you graduate? But I don't remember you in school. But Mamaroneck High School and then Manhattan College, and I was a phys ed teacher and a coach from the time I was 8th, 9th grade. That's the direction I wanted to go in, and I taught for 35 years, retired. I coached in Ossining where I taught, and then in Henrik Hutchin here. For 50 years, and I stopped a couple years back after 50 years, and good round figure, and a lot of people say, do you miss it? Of course you miss it, but it was time for me to move on.
Yeah. You must know how many people, over the years.
Well, of course, okay, and I'm not great with names, so how many times has it happened to me? I'm in a deli or the grocery store, and oh, Mr. Pritts, Coach Pritts, and now they're adults, and I have no clue who they are. So, I understand. I'll say, hey, I recognize you, but I forget your name. They tell me, and then I remember different things about them. Oh, you love dodgeball, okay? You were a baseball player or whatever. So, it was a good career. 50 years, I loved it. And we used to leave every payday. They paid us again for playing in the gym, okay? So
that is amazing.
Yeah,
and
right,
it's, it's so cool that you knew what you wanted to do at a young age.
Right, right. That was special.
And,
I was lucky.
Yeah, you wished everybody, I've always said the guidance should do something to right away start gearing kids towards, like maybe take a test.
Right.
What do you like? What do you enjoy? What do you think you'd want to be when you grow up?
That's interesting. I'm a little older than you, but I had that test. We all took it at a test where you had to answer questions, and it came out that I wanted to be a forest ranger. Okay. Now, with that being said, do I like nature? Do I like animals? Yeah, of course. But forest ranger, no.
Yeah.
Now, my youngest son, Michael, is a science teacher up in Wallkill, New York. And he has 3 kids, 4-year-old twins and a 2nd grader.
Wow.
And he sends pictures maybe once a week, if not more, where they took a hike here, especially in the summer. They took a hike there. They're climbing trees. And so
it's in your blood.
Yeah, somewhere. But I was better off being a phys ed teacher and a coach than a forest ranger.
Yeah, a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah,
sure.
right.
You never taught wrestling, did you?
No.
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 I was a big wrestler.
I coached football for years, baseball for years, and periodically I'd coach basketball if they needed someone for a year or what have you. I even coached hockey one year with a JV hockey coach down in Ossining. The JV hockey coach got sick like a week before practice. So the hockey coach who was I coached football with in Ossining at the time, he said, Dutch, he said, come on, I said, wait a minute. I said, I like to think I was a pretty good athlete, but when we went to play hockey on the ponds, I was last pick.
Me too.
I was put in a goal, okay?
Yeah.
He said, no, but you'll control the kids and you'll practice. So it was a great experience, okay, that hockey.
What were some of your best teams, not specifically, but what was like the character of the team that made you enjoy it the most? It wasn't, not the most winningest team, but...
Well, that's an interesting question. Every team over the course of my career had its own personality. And of course, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say you like some teams better than others, of course. But I always felt as a coach that every kid, from the best kid on the team to the least talented kid on the team, needs your attention, needs your the coach to make them better. And I, as your brother and some other friends that that I coach, I wasn't afraid to yell at them. But early in my career, I learned that it's okay to bark at a kid and what have you, as long as you also tell him when he's good. So at practice, especially in football, if a kid missed a block or went the wrong way and I yelled at him a little bit, I made sure within the next 2 or 3 minutes I told him, something good. And people over the years said, well, haven't kids changed? Well, all kids want to know you care about them and want you to coach them and make them better. And I found if you yelled at them, it's okay, as long as you told them that, that they were good or when they did good.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because every generation, wants to blame the next generation or the past generation. So they found, the tablets written 1,000 years before Christ. And in it, one of them was saying how, this next generation is evil, they're lazy, So now, 55 generations later, it's still the same thing, it's just how it is, What do you think makes a good coach?
Well, number one, you have to have knowledge of the sport you're coaching. But that's not most important. Most important is getting somehow, some way, getting to the players, getting to the kids, and get them on board with the direction you think they should go in. And different teams need different directions. By that I mean, you just said in your question a couple of minutes back, maybe not your best team, but depending on how you evaluate the talent, some teams, if you get them to 500, holy mackerel, you did a great job. Other teams, if you, in football, for example, if you get them to be, 8-1, well, maybe you had the talent to go undefeated and win the section. So getting the kids to buy in to the program, getting them to understand that hard work pays off, and having a relationship, not necessarily a friend to a friend, but a coach to a player.
Yeah.
Okay, and getting them to work hard and see how it pays off. So your relationships with kids. Some kids need a kick in the butt more than others. Some kids just need a pat on the back. Because if you kick in the butt, so to speak, okay, they can't deal with that well. So you have to get to know the kids, what makes them, the best way to motivate them, and because each kid is different.
Yeah. Well, you could even see, like with the pro teams, they put teams together, they spend the money, and for whatever reason, they don't click. And then you got another team that they didn't have to spend a lot of money, but the team itself, they're all on the same level, like you said. They're all thinking the same thing, and they almost like they all know what each other's thinking, and that's a big difference.
Well, the pro level is certainly completely different because there's some phenomenal athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch games, I watch games, most of us watch games. The athleticism of some of these, pros is just off the charts. And they can go out and build their team, as you just said, just like colleges can recruit players they want. Here in high school, whoever shows up, that's what you got to deal with.
Yeah.
So developing relationships on the lower level, in this case high school, is, I think, most important.
Now, I played high school football, and the team that we played, I was lucky. We had a lot of talent when I was there. And it was funny because when everybody got in the game, everybody would come to practice Monday, everybody be excited. But then you'd have a situation where one team got on the field, and that was it. You didn't switch people in and out. Not everybody got to play. And then come Monday, that everybody wasn't happy. So what's the difficulty of trying to get everybody in the game?
Okay. Terrific question. I worked very hard. Now, was I 100% successful? Of course not. To get if a kid came to practice and worked their fanny off, there was some way, somehow, I had to figure out to get him in a ball game. Did it always work out? No, of course not. But part of that is, as you alluded to, now come Monday, everyone, if you're in the game, you're going to pay more attention to the film, to practice. You're going to work harder because your hard work is paying off for playing time. And like I said, was I 100% successful? Of course not. But that was my goal every game, to get kids on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was pretty successful at that.
Well, that always makes for a better team.
Right,
like you
right,
said,
right.
Then the enthusiasm is higher,
right.
too,
And everyone's pulling for each other and encouraging each other.
Right. And like you said, you feel like that hard work paid off.
Right.
You got it. You must have had to deal with some parents over the years. What was that like?
That's interesting. I always tried to have a parent meeting. So they got to know me. Mm-hmm. They got to know where I was coming from. I wasn't a rule guy. I had one rule on every one of my teams. Do the right thing. Mm. Whether it's Friday night, whether it's in school, whether it's Saturday or Sunday afternoon. You know right from wrong as a kid. So my one rule was do the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, you're going to have to suffer the consequences. As far as parents are concerned, I, of course, had issues with parents over the years. Every single coach does. Because, even for myself, I sit and watch the Giants, on Saturday, or I watch the Yankees. I say, well, why'd you take that pitcher out? And how come you called that play? I do the same thing. Well, parents do the same thing. And all parents want their kids to be successful and be happy. I get that. How do you handle that? You handle that by being truthful. By, truthful to the kid, truthful to the parents. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, okay? Because each parent wants what's best for their son or daughter. So it's not easy, but generally speaking, I think I did pretty well with that because I talked to the parents, right up front about, at my meeting where I was coming from, my expectations of them. Because I would tell them, as you know in golf, we're always here early. Well, same thing coaching. If, practice started at 3, I was here at 2. And I'd tell the parents, especially if the kid didn't drive, well, if your kid comes late, he's going to suffer the consequence. It may be your fault, but I can't make you run laps, or I can't make you clean up the footballs or carry the dummies back, But it's going to happen to them. So that's your responsibility. Make sure they're getting their rest. Make sure they're working in school, and get them to practice on time.
Yeah. It's in all of us to be competitive, to want to win, and sometimes it gets, a little too crazy, that whole idea. We got to win. But we can't help. I mean, I think it's inherent in us, it's survival,
Right.
to want to win, to be the best. And, sometimes you need to tone that down. How were you able to balance that?
I always played to win.
Yeah.
But under the guidelines of practice was for me, games were for you, meaning the players. And we want to compete, we want to be prepared, and we want to do the best we can and work as hard as we can to win the game. Sometimes the other team plays better, and we have to accept that. Or sometimes the other team is just better.
Yeah.
A quick story, a couple of years back, coaching baseball, we were the number 1 seed in the sectional tournament. And we won the first game or whatever. And we get to play Harrison. And the first inning, we got them out 1, 2, 3 or whatever. So we go to the bottom of the first because we had a home game. And I got bases loaded, no outs. And I had 4, 5, and 6 coming up. All experienced players, all great hitters. Well, a pop-up, a strikeout, a flyout, or not in that order, but we ended up getting 1 run. And I came in and I said, oh, we're in trouble. Okay, that was our opportunity to put 4 or 5 on the board, and we didn't do it. Well, we ended up losing the game 2-1. The opportunities and not that the kids didn't try. Of course they tried, but that's just an example to answer your question.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So you were a phys ed teacher. You ask a kid what's your favorite class, he says gym class.
Right.
But what was your structure as far as gym class was concerned?
Well, I used to tell the teachers, the classroom teachers, you have automatic discipline. How do you ever have a discipline problem? Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? I said, the kids come into your room and they sit at a desk. My kids come into the gym and they're allowed to run around and scream and yell and carry on. I said, and you have what, 20 kids in your class? I got 40 in the gym.
Yeah.
All right, so, I became a phys ed gym teacher because that's what I loved.
Yeah.
Well, like you just said, most kids say that's their favorite class. Well, I want them to have fun. Now, within the framework of discipline and control, but let's have fun at whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to do, make it fun and keep it interesting and keep it moving.
Yeah.
When I first started teaching right out of college, I was in the elementary school in Ossining, and the teachers would get, at the beginning, they got a little mad because I'd have a 45-minute class, and I'd make sure that we were having fun 45 minutes, and I'd line them up, they go back. Teacher said they're still all wired.
Yeah.
So I had to figure something out. So most days, if it was a very active class, I'd line them up and tell jokes or have them come up and tell jokes.
Debrief them.
Yeah, debrief them. So they were somewhat, less active.
Well, that's it. I have, 25 nieces and nephews, and, I was crazy Uncle Vic. So
Yeah, right.
I'd play with them, and then they'd go home, and
Right,
they'd still be
right,
wired up. And,
right.
My brother or sister would say, try not to be so crazy with the kids. But they had to do away with a lot of the stuff from gym class, like that rope climbing and
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know, I
they towards the end of my teaching career, the principal came down and said, you know, Dutch, I don't want you to do dodgeball anymore. And we would do it like on a Friday before vacation. It wasn't like we did it a lot.
every week, right?
Right. Yeah, right. Every week the kids wanted to play.
Oh, of course.
But and I said, well, why? Well, someone may get hurt. I said, come on. I said, you know, it's January. You're telling me this now. We've already played it 4 times. Did anyone get hurt? No. All right. You know, let's let the kids have fun.
Yeah.
So.
Well, even like the playgrounds when I was a kid, I mean, they were like
Oh, right, right. Jungle gyms.
100 feet up.
You don't have that stuff
yeah,
anymore.
no, it's
Now, in phys ed, though, Project Adventure, which was like rock climbing, and we had a whole lot of stuff in the Ossining Middle School where I was, and dodgeball is like you know, playing marbles compared to the kids climbing up the wall or you know up on the ceiling or wherever the heck that we used to have them get, but I mean they were harnessed and all that, but you know.
yeah. Well, now they have to.
Yeah,
be,
right,
you know,
right,
Now
right.
there's, you know, you got to pay to go to these
Right,
places.
right,
And,
exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, sometimes they talk about the budget for the school programs like the football and the baseball. You know, how important is it to make sure that they have football and baseball?
Well, think of yourself. Budget time is important. I get that. But all right, I'll speak for myself. I remember every coach I had in high school. I can't tell you one English teacher or math teacher or social studies teacher I had, but I could tell you every coach, and you know, from 9th grade on, and we have to educate well-rounded people, well-rounded, you know, youth to grow up and to be adults. And it's not just, is academic most important? Absolutely. But having the entire spectrum of each kid, and that's what the kids during this virus time, that's what the kids are missing. I mean, I have 7 grandkids, and you know, sometime in school with only half a class, and I mean, they're just missing out that socialization and playing with other kids, not just the academics they can get on the screen, on the Zooms or whatever they use, but all that other stuff that you learn in school, you know. So yes, many years different districts talk about, you know, doing away with not only sports, but you know, also the theater people and the band people and the different clubs. Well, that's what encompasses a well-rounded, educated, you know, kid to grow up to be an adult.
Well, and you just mentioned it's so important for people. They say that, you know, the learning ability of people that take up an instrument or, you know, learn the arts, you know, it expands their mind. You know?
Absolutely.
And it's all about being open-minded. And I've always read how it's you know, imperative that parents read to their kids. You got to start early. The sooner the better, you know.
No question. Yeah, okay, I mean, with my kids, with my sons and their, you know, my grandkids, I mean, we started reading to them when they, you know, they couldn't do anything other than just sit there in your arm, but or talk to them. And no, reading is so important.
Yeah.
I have my oldest granddaughter, Casey, is in 8th grade. I mean, she was reading bragging a little bit. She was reading at 5 years old.
That's amazing.
And I mean, she's athletic. She plays for the school field hockey and lacrosse, and played basketball last year. But she would rather read a book, okay, than do a lot of other things. So.
Yeah, I was always jealous of people, you know, that could read like that. But I tell you, if a book was read to me, I remembered every word. You know?
Really?
And I wished that all my books were on cassette and were, you know, recorded, and I could have just listened to, because my attention span that way was so much better. Because I don't know if I was dyslexic or just, you know, ADD or whatever, but you know, my ability to stay focused reading was not there.
See, mine's just the opposite, okay? Growing up, most of the teachers, they were lecture type of stuff, okay? Well, 5 minutes or under 5 minutes, I was done. And, as a kid, did my mom read to me? Yes, I don't remember too much. But, like, people say they go to Florida or whatever, and they get the books on tape in the car. I can't do that. I read a lot.
Yep.
I read 40
Well, now
books
I
a year.
read.
Right.
I love to read.
Me too. I read 40 books a year. But if you read to me now, or even when I was younger, no,
Yeah.
my attention span just
See
couldn't
that?
last for
Yeah.
that.
But that's the thing. They claim there's 20 different personalities. I mean, I grew up with 12 people in my house,
right.
and
That was survival.
yeah, and was introduced to different personalities. Even though we were all brothers and sisters and
Right.
we came from the same two
Yeah,
people,
no.
we all had our own personality.
Right.
And then it was funny when I went away to college and I started meeting people. I was like, oh, you're just like this person, or you're just like, because there's so there's a limit to the amount of personalities. But in that, differences are just like we just said.
Right.
And you must have seen it over the years.
Oh, absolutely. No question. And I mean, for myself, my favorite teacher in school was Miss Severe in 3rd grade. Why? Because in this corner she had Indian artifacts where you can go and hold on to an arrowhead and feel a bow and arrow and look at a little teepee. And over there she'd have microscopes and stuff. But I couldn't read a word. She taught me to read in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And then it just exploded for me from there.
Yeah.
So
we play golf together, and I got to tell you, I mean, I get frustrated out there sometimes. You might yell at somebody. How are you able to stay so calm? What is it? Just your nature, or something you had to learn, or what?
No, I had to learn it big time because, if you speak to people when I was a young coach, I was a little different, whether or not yelling at the refs or whatever. Golf. I play a lot of golf and should be better, but golf to me is a way as we get older to continue competing, but to have fun. Now, if I hit a bad shot, I try to forget it, and I hit enough bad shots, as you know. But competing. I mean, the golf league we're in is just so much fun. Some great guys, and every Monday you're going to concentrate more on the golf course and play. And I know you requested to be with somebody next year. I can't guarantee you that at all, because the person you want to be with is still pretty good. And
yeah, it's not a good matchup.
It's not a good matchup.
Right,
no one will be able to beat you.
Right. But again, now here's a perfect example of joining a team or a club. We get together on Mondays. It's that time before we go out. We all get to talk.
Right.
And you don't see that a lot anymore. A lot of these clubs are closing. A lot of these, the Italian club or whatever, and you don't get that camaraderie. People just standing around talking and getting to.
Well, here at the restaurant too, people used to come and would come and hang out and have a beer or two and talk and have fun and laugh. And for the last 10 months, give or take, that's been over. I mean, we're sitting here, and we did play golf, even though we got started later, but we wore masks until we got out there. We kept, our distance out there. We had one in a cart. But you're right. That was especially good this year, speaking for myself.
Yeah, it was
because you
needed.
got to see people.
Yeah.
It was so needed because all that socialization, going to people's house for dinner, or going out to dinner with friends, that was over for so long.
Yeah.
So, I love the golf league.
Yeah, and it's awesome. So anyway, our time is up, believe it or not, and you're going to have to come on again. So.
We can't do this another half hour?
Well, we could sit and talk for another half hour. I'm Victor Margiotta. This is the Community Show. Thank you so much for watching.